கிளாஸ் ஆரம்பிச்ச போதோ இல்ல புடி அங்கேயே புடிச்சு வச்சுட்டேன்.
Good evening, all of you,
எனக்கு கிளாஸ் ஆரம்பிக்க போது.
and welcome to this particular session. So, today I will give you a brief of how we will be conducting the session. This course is primarily to cover the dynamic aspects of PSIR, which is troublesome for the students, and it also covers your GS paper 2 polity, and the statecraft will be the main text on the basis of which we will be developing our sound knowledge. And I will also tell you, like, how should you prepare a particular topic. So when we study international relations, it's not that you just know what is evident, what is the top layer. Like the topic which I have thought I will discuss is the Trump and Xi summit of 2026. But we have to go deeper. Means when we write answer, there should be some depth in our answer. You develop your knowledge base, you improve your language, you understand how to analyze the current affairs, how to build the vocabulary concept, and how to maximize the use of statecraft. Now, before I begin, if you want to ask any question, if you want any clarity, any question, you are welcome. You can raise your hands or you can write down in the chat box. Fine. Like if you want to know about how the course will be conducted, I will be covering the statecraft. I will tell you how to study the statecraft, what are the important things, and when you study current affairs, how you can build the knowledge around it. How should you link the current and the theoretical part? So, but I just want to know what exactly, if there is any question in your mind, just let me know. If there is no question, I will go my way. So, yes, tell me, or you can also give certain ideas. What exactly do you expect from this course? So, what I thought is, I will ensure that you understand the statecraft, you learn how to maximize the use of it, you develop ability to think, analyze, and so that international relations become a smooth experience for you. So, do you have any question? Anybody? So, I don't see any question. I will be proceeding. So, with me, and you know the course feature, you will be getting the magazine. But I believe that maybe today you don't have the copy. So far, you will be getting the copies from this month. But we will let me discuss this particular topic with you. So this is June issue. कोई question पूछ रहा है क्या इसमें? नहीं ना? नहीं. अच्छा. This is the June issue of Statecraft. And the first topic here is the Trump-Xi summit in 2026. And what is the brief summary of this particular article. So what this article is trying to tell you, every article in statecraft has two dimensions. One is the factual dimension, what happened, and the second is the analytical dimension, means going beyond the facts, what we can analyze from it. So when we study this particular topic, we must also understand what is the importance of that particular topic and where this topic is in our syllabus. So the Trump-Xi summit is very important topic because in paper 2, when we start studying world politics, the first topic that comes is changing international political order. So where should I place this particular topic in my UPSC syllabus? The changing international political order. So how international political order has been changing and where international political order is today, and how should we read the international political order at present. So normally we start analyzing the international political order from the Treaty of Versailles, and then in big way after Second World War, and in your syllabus there is a detailed view of the post Second World War world order, for which we have terms like Cold War. And the conventional understanding of the Cold War is about the bipolar world order, where the two major competitors were USA and USSR. This bipolar world order has kept the world divided into two blocks. And there was an iron curtain, means very limited level of engagement. The two worlds can live by themselves. But in 1991, if I use Gramsci's terminology, there was a rupture in that world order. Means there was a big change in the world order. USSR collapsed. USA emerged, the single hegemon. And once USA emerged, the single hegemon, we started studying about the theories of globalization, the global world order. And this global world order was based on the neoliberalism, means the global world order was about integration of the markets. Platforms like ITO, which didn't come into existence in 1948, we managed through GATT. But by 1995, WTO comes into existence. Here, you should also understand and you should go through the hegemonic stability theory. So, hegemonic stability theory says that in international affairs, to maintain the stability, we require hegemony. So there can be a single state or a group of hegemon like G7. So whenever you are studying an article, all such concepts should automatically come to your mind, because without those concepts, you cannot understand the event. Now, why this hegemonic stability theory is important today, where they talk about either one state or more than one state, like G7 countries, G20, are essential to maintain the global economy. Why this is important? Because when this summit took place, so many newspaper articles, they have been writing about G2, because Trump himself was talking about G2, the Great Two. We see a big U-turn in the approach of Donald Trump. And from a strategic threat, USA's national security strategy of Trump looks at China as a strategic competitor. And it seems that at present, US is willing to abandon the idea of Indo-Pacific. So that is why they have reverted back to the title of its Pacific Command, which they have changed to Indo-Pacific to Pacific again. And it seems that Trump is not interested in Quad anymore. And Quad is being carried forward by the officials on both the sides. And whether Quad summit will actually take place is a big question mark. And we see that today, US and India relations are going through their worst phases, whereas USA is trying to go for engagement with China. They are talking about the ideas of G2, Great Two. At the same time, what is more important? What is more important is the term that has been coined by Xi Jinping, and that is also the title of this particular topic. The title of the topic is Trump-Xi Summit 2026, Constructive Strategic Stability and the Future of the Great Power Relations. So we have to understand this new phrase that has entered into the discourse of international politics: constructive strategic stability. How should we understand it? So, on the occasion of this particular summit, now, this particular article is also telling you some factual aspect of the summit. The factual aspect of the summit is this is the second summit since Trump has come to office in 2025. And the moment he came to office, he started the tariff war. So, if I apply the language of international relations, the concepts of international relations, the Trump has started weaponizing trade. China has also, in retaliation, weaponizing the trade. And what we see that Trump and China both are realizing the limits of strategic competition, and they are understanding that they have to mend their ways, because strategic competition, if not controlled, it can lead to escalation. it can result into a situation of war. It can be either on the issue of Taiwan or on the issue of South China Sea. And it is not a rational choice. If you know about chicken game, it is not a rational choice for the countries to go for such a big risk. So, what these countries are doing, how should you look at China and US summit? You should look at this, that both of them are understanding the strategic imperatives of the complex interdependence, the concept associated with or attributed to Joseph Nye and Robert K. Horn, that the complex interdependence limits the scope of war or escalation and compels countries to cooperate with whom otherwise we would prefer to go for conflict. So, this complex interdependence shows the limits of conflict. So, what we are seeing is strategic accommodation. Now, what is the conceptual background of this strategic accommodation? So, if I look through the realist angle, we often hear two theories which are very similar, and I have made videos, detailed videos, they are on YouTube. The two theories are Thucydides trap and the power transition theory. So, the Thucydides trap became popular with Graham Allison, who published the concept of Thucydides trap instead of G2, and to show that there is a huge possibility that US, a status quoist power, and China, a revisionist power, may end up in a situation of war. And what is the full uh, title of the Allison's article? The full title of Allison's article was, Can US and China Escape the Thucydides Trap? Now, the second theory is power transition theory by Kenneth Orgenski, which is actually a criticism of the balance of power theory. So, the balance of power theory says stability exists when there is a balance of power. But transition theory favors hegemony and says that when the power gap start getting reduced, the chances of war are higher. Now, amidst these type of concepts, conceptual categories, Chinese president has given a very interesting concept, constructive strategic stability. So this constructive strategic stability, what is this? Just like in exam, once they asked, what is China dream? They can also ask, what is this constructive strategic stability? Xi Jinping is, as far as his statements are concerned, as far as his rhetorics are concerned, it appears that unlike Trump, Xi Jinping belongs to the school of social constructivism. What does the school of social constructivism suggest? It suggests that we should not become the prisoners of stereotypes. Sometimes the concepts like Thucydides trap in themselves can become the reason for war. And it suggests that we should go for dialogue. So if somebody asks me, what is the theoretical background of this term?
constructive strategic stability. You can search the theoretical background of this term in social constructivism because Xi Jinping is emphasizing on institutionalization of the dialogue, not going for war. Thucydides trap is not a destiny. You can avoid this particular trap. Now, when you study social constructivism, you also get to know the concept of strategic culture. Strategic culture means how the thought process of any thinker is built. It is shaped by country's culture and tradition. So when Chinese talk about strategic stability, where are the roots of these thinking? The roots of these thinking are in their strategic culture. And which are the two prominent scholars which shape Chinese strategic culture? So one is Confucius. So Confucius talks about two important things. One, harmonious coexistence. If Americans talk about strategic competition, the Chinese carefully word their strategic perspective in harmonious terms. Even when we talk about BRI, so Xi Jinping defines BRI as a harmonious word of peaceful coexistence. Even in case of Panchsheel, they try to talk about harmonious coexistence. The other scholar is Sun Tzu, The Art of War. UPSC has asked even an essay on that. So what does Sun Tzu says? Sun Tzu tells about Chinese strategic culture, which is not offensive realism, rather defensive realism. The famous statement, which when UPSC has asked an essay of Sun Tzu was that the best victory is to gain the victory without war. So these are certain background information through which you should deconstruct this term constructive strategic stability. And whenever you use one term, you should always think about what can be the opposite term. Since constructive strategic stability is a new term, so what was the old term? The traditional strategic stability. The traditional strategic stability is a term of Cold War, where strategic stability was based on nuclear deterrence. But constructive strategic stability is a 21st century concept coming from China, where stability is achieved not just by the nuclear weapons, where rather China is talking about dialogue, it is talking about cooperation. The four terms you should see in this particular article, the four type of stability which Xi Jinping has talked about, fourfold stability. He talks about positive stability, where he says that cooperation should be the base mainstay of US-China relations. The second, he talks healthy stability. Healthy stability means go for a competition. Competition is good, but competition should remain healthy. It should remain fair. It should not result into escalation. The third, he talks about constant stability. Constant stability means whenever you will interact, there will be differences. There may be conflict also, but you should know how to go for management of conflict and lasting stability. So lasting stability means ultimately we should make an effort for making the lasting peace. So in this way, China is trying to project that China is a peace-loving country. So in exam, they can ask you what is constructive social secure stability, how constructive strategic stability term differ from traditional stability term, and what are the pillars of constructive stability. Now let me talk about some factual aspect of this summit. So this is the second summit.
and it is a continuation of the Busan process. So Busan is where it is in South Korea. What happened in Busan? APEC summit. So this APEC summit was when Xi Jinping and Trump, they met for the first time, and this summit was after Trump has started his tariff war. So, what was the detente? What was the understanding in the Busan summit? That they will continue communication as a part of that Busan summit. This is the second summit. Now, the third summit is expected somewhere in September in Washington. And this Busan summit resulted into USA halting further escalation, further reducing the tariffs. Now, what was the agenda and the backdrop of the 2026 May summit? The agenda of 2026 May summit is the fragmentation which is happening at the geopolitical level. There are certain developments which are harming China as well as US. For example, the escalating tensions in West Asia, from the Gaza conflict to full-fledged war between Iran and US. A war which is impacting almost everyone. The instability that has emerged at the global uh, trade routes. And you must have heard in the newspaper that China has created an international platform for intellectual property rights. So for AI, not intellectual property rights. So AI issue, chip issue, China and US, they are developing two alternative routes on AI governance, which matters to India a lot. And China is gaining a lot of advantage in the AI model. So what is US model? US goes for successive proprietorship model, whereas China supports open diffusion-based AI model. And China, this thing is helping in building China's soft power. And because AI governance is diverging, it is creating dilemma for India. So there was a lot to discuss, from trade, AI, Taiwan, South China Sea, Hormuz Strait crisis, Red Sea crisis. In the backdrop of all these things, this particular summit has taken place. How India looked at the summit? In one way, it is good if US-China tensions get diluted, because this will lead to stability. But it is not good for India, because it's like a catch-22 situation for India, because we dream, or we have this nightmare that China, Pakistan, and US axis, as we see emerging in Bangladesh, the way it used to be during the Cold War, it can be a cause of huge concern. On its own side, India has started its own rapprochement with China. So there was a lot to discuss. And if we see the rhetorics, especially of Trump, he calls the summit excellent, fantastic. But if you really read the outcomes, you will find that there is nothing fantastic and nothing concrete come out. So what were the high issues? Taiwan. We don't see any change. Rather, we see a big difference where USA held that, ensured that to continue its own traditional position, its own approach towards Taiwan, that it believes in one China policy, but it doesn't favor integration of Taiwan through force. Now, the second is AI. We don't see much agreement on how AI should develop. US continues to impose export ban on high-end frontier technologies, chips, and China, on its part, is also maintaining certain restrictions on critical minerals. So nothing concrete come out. What was the cooperation that has happened, or some example where it is said that China has agreed to buy American soya bean or some agricultural produce. There was some deal on Boeing, but when you see the official statements from China and US, they tell the different story from what the Trump is saying. So, from the perspective of a student of international politics, what is the outcome of the summit? So, some may say that summit is disappointing. Some may say the summit is symbolic, the achievement is symbolic. But for me, and that was the theme in this article, it is not symbolic. It has huge significance. Why it has huge significance? Because it is an attempt to bring the global strategic stability. It is giving a new template for the US and China relations. It can be something which has a huge diplomatic importance. It should not be just regarded as symbolic. And the two countries are understanding the limits of the rivalry and the limits which complex interdependence and multipolarity is creating. So finally, who appears to be the winner here? According to many scholars, it is China, because China was able to dictate, China is able to place, China is able to project itself as the leader. US has been on the back foot. And is there something for the middle powers? Yes. So in case something like G2 is emerging, it is good also, it is bad also. But how middle powers should look at the scenario, what they can do. So the article, when you will read that, it will suggest that it's not that there is no scope for middle powers. Even if G2 emerges, it is going to be different from what was during the Cold War, because during Cold War, interdependence was not there. So middle power like India, Australia, Canada, they need not to be just as silent spectators. Rather, they can actively contribute in building the new world order. They can also be playing a significant role, because neither there is unipolarity nor there is bipolarity. It is complex interdependence. And as Canada's Prime Minister, in his address at World Economic Forum, he talks about the scope middle powers can play. He gave one term, veritable geography, which you should understand that in present time, the relationships between the states, they are going to be what? Very, very contextual and issue specific. So this was the summary and the essence of this particular article. I hope you have understood something. And if you want to share, like, is this the way you want us to deliver, or you want the normal lecture style on the board? Do let us know. So I will be covering the core themes of each section in this particular way. And you can note down, like, you should develop a command on certain concepts which I have mentioned, like Thucydides' depth, hegemonic stability, complex interdependence, securitization, the other concepts and facts, and understand, visualize what can be the probable questions in the examination, understand what is a strategic culture. And I believe that after this, you will find it easy to read the article and make sense of it. So now I invite I am opening things for the discussion. You want to ask any question? Because until unless I do not know how much you could grasp, what changes are required, I don't want it to be one way. So now Nishant, what's up? आ जाओ इधर. Yes, Nishant, can you be louder?
हेलो मैम, गुड इवनिंग।
अभी तो इनके पास ये मैगजीन नहीं गई होगी ना. मैंने एक टॉपिक इनको पढ़ा दिया है. ये वाला आर्टिकल इनको, अगर ये वाला मैगजीन है तो ये इनको भिजवा दो सो दैट दे अंडरस्टैंड. यस, बताएं निशांत.
गुड इवनिंग मैम।
या
मैम, मुझे पहले ये जानना था कि ये कोर्स किस तरीके से प्रोसीड करेगा, मतलब कैसे इससे हम बेस्ट सीख
देखिए,
सकते हैं।
सबसे पहले ये पर्टिकुलर आप कोर्स करेंगे तो एक तो पॉलिटिकल साइंस का जो सेकंड पेपर है जिसमें बच्चे बहुत स्ट्रगल करते हैं, और
Yes,
जो आईजीपी पोर्शन का करंट पोर्शन है जिसमें लोग स्ट्रगल करते हैं, वो स्ट्रगल आपको खत्म होता है. हमने स्टेट क्राफ्ट लाई, लेकिन फिर भी स्टूडेंट्स को थोड़ा ये चैलेंजेस आ रहे हैं कि इसको पढ़ना कैसे, इसको यूटिलाइज कैसे करना है. तो इसमें हम आपको बताएंगे कि इसको कैसे कैसे यूटिलाइज करना है, क्या समरीज हैं, कैसे इससे आप नोट्स बना सकते हैं, और इससे आपका जीएस पेपर 2 भी कवर होता है. आपको पॉलिटिकल साइंस के लिए क्या एक लैंग्वेज चाहिए वो बनती है. इसके बियॉन्ड जो आपके अदर एग्जाम्स हैं उसमें भी आपकी, मतलब जैसे आप इंटरव्यू सब कुछ ऐसे प्रिपेयर एक दिन में खोल के नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो पहली चीज तो ये है कि स्टेट क्राफ्ट को पढ़ना आ जाए, स्टेट क्राफ्ट से कंटेंट को निकालना आ जाए, और आपको बहुत एक स्मूथ हो. बाकी नॉर्मली क्या होगा, जो भी करंट अफेयर्स के मेजर टॉपिक्स होंगे, स्टेट क्राफ्ट हमारा बेस है, लेकिन अगर मुझे लगता है कि और भी कोई इम्पोर्टेंट इंटरनेशनल इशू डिस्कस करना है, आई विल डिस्कस नेशनल इशू. तो हमारा ये वाला जो स्टेट क्राफ्ट है, इसमें जो हमने नेशनल इशू लिया है उसमें लेबर कोड्स लिए हैं, क्योंकि वो काफी न्यूज में चल रहा है. तो आई विल डिस्कस कि वो लेबर लॉज क्या हैं, लेबर कोड्स क्या हैं. तो आप इसके बाद जब स्टेट क्राफ्ट पढ़ेंगे तो आपको काफी आसानी होगी. आप ये समझ पाएंगे कि अब जैसे मैंने पढ़ाया, मैंने जो भी बताया, तो उसको ध्यान में रख के अब वो आर्टिकल पढ़ो. एक लिस्ट बनाओ कॉन्सेप्ट्स की. फ्यूसाइडाइडस ट्रैप क्या है, पावर ट्रांजिशन थ्योरी क्या है, कॉम्प्लेक्स इंटरडिपेंडेंस क्या है. तो नोट्स कैसे बनाना है, ये सारी चीजें आप इससे कवर करेंगे.
मैम, जो बाकी हमारा करंट अफेयर्स होता है वो भी इसमें कवर होगा इस पूरे कोर्स में, मतलब पूरे एग्जाम के लिए।
इकोनॉमी, ज्योग्राफी, ये वाला तो नहीं कवर होगा,
ओके ओके
बिकॉज दिस इज पीएसआईआर एंड जीएस पेपर 2 इज स्पेसिफिक.
ओके ओके मैम।
वैसे भी मुझे नहीं लगता आप मेरे से ज्योग्राफी पढ़ना चाहेंगे.
नहीं नहीं मैम, आप बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाते हैं। मैम, बस अब मेरा एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन ये था कि जैसे आपने समझाया टॉपिक तो वो बहुत अच्छे से समझ भी आ गया, और न्यूज़पेपर भी फॉलो किया है पिछले काफी महीनों से, तो मतलब समझ आ रहा है सारा कुछ। बस अब जैसे इंडिया कैसे प्रिपेयर कर रहा है खुद को यूएस और चाइना के लिए, कि मतलब क्योंकि जैसे आपने बताया कि कोई आउटकम नहीं निकला है इस समिट का। तो
नहीं, वो ऐसा कह रहे हैं, मैंने का आउटकम निकला है.
हाँ, कि मतलब जैसे ये आपने बताया कि ये जस्ट सिंबॉलिक नहीं है,
ये
ये
हाँ सिंबॉलिक नहीं
कम्प्लेक्स
है. इसमें
कम्प्लेक्स
चाइना
इंटरडिपेंडेंट।
ने टर्मिनोलॉजी दी है, उसका रेलेवेंस है. तो जैसे ये आर्टिकल प्रिपेयर किया गया तो बहुत सारे जो जर्नल्स और इन सब चीजों को गो थ्रू करके कि क्या डिबेट चल क्या रहा है, थीम्स क्या चल रही हैं. जैसे हम
बट
पेपर पढ़ते तो हैं, लेकिन हमें एक नेक्स्ट लेवल पे जा करके चीजों को समझना होगा.
ओके
तो अब अगर आइडियली आप जैसे वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर अपना टॉपिक है, तो वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर में डिबेट्स क्या चल रही हैं. तो डिबेट्स ये चल रही है कि वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर चेंज हो रहा है, चाइना जो है वो प्रोमिनेंट बन रहा है. अब अगर इससे रिलेट करके हम इंडिया की जो आप पूछ रहे हैं ना, इंडिया स्पेसिफिक,
इंडिया
तो
स्पेसिफिक।
एक नेक्स्ट टॉपिक हो सकता है रेलिवेंस ऑफ स्ट्रेटेजिक ऑटोनॉमी, या इंडिया के डिलेमास.
हम्म
यूएस चाइना रेप्रोचमेंट होता है, तो व्हाट टाइप ऑफ चैलेंजेस एंड व्हाट टाइप ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज इट क्रिएट्स फॉर इंडिया एंड हाउ इंडिया इज गोइंग दिस डिलेमा। तो ये चीजें जैसे आप सुनेंगे और ये अगर आपकी डेली की बोलचाल की भाषा का हिस्सा बन जाए, तो ये बर्डन ही नहीं हो कि आईआर एक बर्डन है। जैसे अभी मेंस बच्चे दे रहे हैं, इतना चेंजेस हो जाता है जब हम इसे बहुत कन्वेंशनल तरीके से पढ़ते हैं, तो लास्ट में अ, हाथ पैर लोग छोड़ देते हैं कि नहीं आ रहा है, जबकि आप बड़ा स्मूथ वो पढ़ सकते हैं चीजों को।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
बाकी वत्सल सर है, ये भी थोड़ा कोर्स मैंने ये सोचा है कि मैं स्टेट क्राफ्ट के पहले आर्टिकल से शुरू करूं, आपको की टर्म्स बताऊं, की फैक्ट्स बताऊं, और चीजों को समझने का एक तरीका बनाऊं, फिर उसके बाद आप खुद उस आर्टिकल को पढ़ें और उसके बाद हम उस पर डिस्कशन करें।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
आकाश।
Good evening, ma'am.
या
So, as you said, USA and China. So, according to my perspective, why can't I relate this strategy of US in Rimland theory?
पार्डन।
USA, like USA and China, USA is negotiating with China, right? So, why can't USA is propagating the Rimland theory of Nicholson? Like,
Why? What they will do by propagating?
means those who control the Rimland countries, they
Even if
might
they propagate, what they are going to get out of it?
the what they are maintaining the world order, like the liberty.
No, they are not interested in liberty. They are interested in profits. So today, international politics is not shaped by conventional ideas. It is shaped by tech war, and it is showing complexity of the situation that US and China, they need to work together. This case study helps you in understanding various theories of international politics. So there is a dependency of US on China and China on US. So what China wants from US? Frontier technology, access, frontier chips. What US wants from China is critical minerals, rare earth, and what is at the center of the conflict is Taiwan issue. So testing the theories, understanding it through these frameworks. So even if US talks about rim land, it doesn't make any sense what they will talk about. So the purpose is how you will make sense of the articles and the newspapers, what is happening around. So what is USA? और ये क्या शो कर रहा है? This is showing that nations, they are not completely free to decide their policies, because the structure of international politics create certain conditions where you have to, matlab, you cannot choose freely the policies of their choice. Okay?
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Mrunal.
गुड इवनिंग मैम।
Yeah.
मैम, जैसे हम ये टर्म यूज करते हैं कि लॉन्ग स्ट्रेटेजिक स्टेबिलिटी, स्ट्रेटेजिक अलायंस, स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप, तो मैं जैसे स्ट्रेटेजिक टर्म सुनती हूँ तो मैं अपने बैकग्राउंड में लॉन्ग लास्टिंग समथिंग, लॉन्ग टर्म अलायंस, लॉन्ग टर्म कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव, स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप, लॉन्ग टर्म जैसा वर्ड अंडरस्टैंड करती हूँ। तो एक्चुअली स्ट्रेटेजिक का मीनिंग मैं क्या समझूँ ऐसे?
स्ट्रेटेजिक का मतलब लॉन्ग टर्म है, सीरियस है, टेक्टिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है। तो जब ये कह रहा है कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक स्टेबिलिटी, मतलब एक लॉन्ग टर्म विजन लेके चलना पड़ेगा ऑफ दिस रिलेशनशिप। और हमें लॉन्ग टर्म में क्या करना है? हमें लॉन्ग टर्म में स्टेबिलिटी पे ध्यान देना है, हमें अननेसेसरी वॉर्स नहीं करनी है। न्यूक्लियर पावर्स के बीच में वॉर करने से किसी का फायदा नहीं है। तो आप लॉन्ग टर्म में देख सकते हैं स्ट्रेटेजिक टर्म। यही तो है, ये जो वर्ड्स आ रहे हैं, तो पॉलिटिकल साइंस स्टूडेंट को क्या जरूरी है कि सब वर्ड्स को वो समझ पाए, इसी पे क्वेश्चन बनते हैं।
ओके मैम।
SD।
Good evening, ma'am. I wanted to ask थोड़ा like answer writing oriented question है कि some situations that occur in international events, for example, like you said कि US dropped the name Indo from the Indo-Pacific Command Center. So objectively speaking, such things are a little bit like embarrassing for our country, right? But those aren't acknowledged by the government of India. So can we write such stuff in answers like?
If it is a fact, why can't you write?
Okay.
We are not, our government is saying we are not dependent on US. We have -G2 strategy, and India can work on its own. That is why India has gone for engagement with other countries in Indo-Pacific.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So, Rawson,
Good evening, ma'am.
yeah.
Ma'am, will there be any answer writing strategy included in this program, ma'am?
Answer writing is, matlab, there is no answer writing, but yes, I can discuss questions with you. I can help you in writing the answer.
मैम एक और कंसर्न है, ये स्टैटिक नोट्स के साथ ये करंट अफेयर को कैसे इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं? आई मीन व्हेन
स्टैटिक
वी
नोट से
रिवाइज।
आपको ये पता चलता है कि बैकग्राउंड क्या है। स्टैटिक नोट से आपको ये पता चलता है कि थ्योरीज क्या है, चीजों को समझा कैसे जाए, सब्जेक्ट का लैंग्वेज समझ में आता है। लेकिन यूपीएससी में हमेशा करंट पर ही फोकस रहेगा। स्टैटिक एक बार जानकारी के लिए हो गया, अभी आपको करंट ही पढ़ना है। आपको मान
ओके
लीजिए
मैम,
ये
थैंक यू।
बताया, मैंने कुछ, आई टोल्ड यू समथिंग, इसको ध्यान में रख के ये वाला भी आर्टिकल एक अपलोड कर देंगे। इसको पढ़ो, इस पे बैठ के अपने नोट्स बनाओ पहले, और इमेजिन करो जैसे क्वेश्चन
ओके
है।
मैम।
अभी तो आपका इस साल पेपर नहीं होगा, तो हो सकता है आगे आगे जब वॉशिंगटन समिट हो तो उसको आप कैसे फॉलो करें, उससे क्या चीजें लें। इससे क्या क्वेश्चन बन सकता है कि व्हाट डज कंस्ट्रक्टिव स्ट्रेटेजिक स्टेबिलिटी शो, व्हाट इज द, हाउ विल यू लिंक इट विथ thucydides trap concepts, या एक क्वेश्चन बन सकता है what are the different conceptual frameworks to understand US China relations, what does this term strategic stability indicate with respect to the relations। पढ़ना आपको करंट ही है, अब पीछे के
ओके मैम।
नोट्स को रिवाइज करने की जरूरत नहीं है। आगम,
ओके मैम।
जैसे मैंने डिस्कस किया, इज दिस इज द वे यू वांट, इज दिस द, मतलब इज इट कंफर्टेबल, और
Yes, ma'am. This was comfortable, but writing on the board would be much better because we can like note the what you're writing.
आई कैन टेल यू द नोट्स। आज तो वैसे कुछ बताना नहीं था, आज बेसिकली डिस्कशन ही था, अप्रोच था, लेकिन मैंने कहा कि फिर एक बार इंटरेक्शन है तो कुछ पढ़ ही लेते हैं।
Yes.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम।
या
मैम ये वे ज्यादा सही है क्योंकि आपसे कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछना होता है तो ऐसे इजी रहता है
हाँ,
तो।
ये मेरे लिए भी कंफर्टेबल है क्योंकि हम लोग थोड़ा डिस्कशन मोड में जाएंगे।
यस मैम। यस मैम।
है ना, मैं ऐसे करूंगी कि मैं इन द एंड आपको बता दूंगी कि ये टर्म्स हैं, इसको आपको आना चाहिए, ये फैक्ट्स हैं, ये आपको आने चाहिए। या फिर हम यहाँ से अपलोड करा देंगे टर्मिनोलॉजी या फैक्ट्स, बाकी तो मैगजीन में आपको खुद भी तो पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा, क्योंकि वो थोड़ा मोनोटोनस हो जाएगा लेक्चर वाला।
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
अभी 1 to 1 करके एक चीज ये और कर सकते हैं क्या, मान लीजिए आज मैंने ऐसे डिस्कस कर दिया, कल परसों में आई विल गिव यू अ रिकॉर्डेड वीडियो कि इसमें से ये टर्म्स है, जैसे आज मैंने कई टर्म्स यूज करे,
तो आप घर पे खुद से पढ़ो कि चलो शॉर्ट नोट आएगा पावर ट्रांजिशन पे तो मैं क्या लिखूं, शॉर्ट नोट आएगा तो थियोसाइडाइडस ट्रैप पे मैं क्या लिखूं, इसका स्टेबिलिटी टर्म पे मैं क्या लिखूं, स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर ऑफ चाइना पे क्या लिखूं। मैं इससे आपको एक की टर्म्स में बता दूंगी कि इस पे आप अपने नोट्स बनाइए। आदित्य हो गया? आशुतोष?
कोर्स से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन था मैम कि मतलब कहाँ लेक्चर मिलेगा या फिर कब से अवेलेबल होंगे, कैसे?
कब मिलेगा? वत्सल, ये लेक्चर इन्हें कहाँ मिलेगा, कब मिलेगा, कैसे मिलेगा? आईएफएच बता दो इसको ना, एक ये कर दो, ये लोग थोड़ा पढ़ेंगे कल।
All the
मैं इसको बता
enrolled
दूंगी।
students will be getting the steps on their email. Basically, what we'll be doing is we'll be
ये
getting
इसको
you
स्कैन
recorded
करके डाल दो
lectures.
इन लोगों
Those will be given
को।
thematically.
स्कैन होगा वैसे तो।
So for each edition, there will be several themes. Ma'am will be covering at times weekly, at times bi-weekly. टाइम टू टाइम आपके पास रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर्स आते रहेंगे, सारे टॉपिक्स इसके कवर होंगे। इसके अलावा इफ मैम विल फील दैट एनी रेलिवेंट न्यूज हैज हैपेंड, एनी रेलिवेंट थिंग हैज हैपेंड, तो 15 मिनट्स का 30 मिनट्स का वीडियो यू विल बी गेटिंग रिकॉर्डेड टाइम टू टाइम। एंड दे विल बी टेलीग्राम ग्रुप, वहाँ पे इन्फॉर्म हो जाएगा कि देयर इज ए लेक्चर दैट हैज बीन अपलोडेड, तो वो रिकॉर्डेड फॉर्मेट में अपलोड होगा।
सर लेक्चर इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ह्यूमैनिटीज के वेबसाइट पर मिलेगा या फिर मैम का शुभ्रा रंजन आईएएस जो ऐप है उस पर हमें
इंस्टीट्यूट फॉर
मिलेगा?
ह्यूमैनिटीज के ऐप पे मिलेगा, वो स्टेप्स आपको
ठीक
मिल पे आ जाएंगे।
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू सर।
ठीक है।
आई थिंक ओके, समृद्धि तुम जा रहे?
गुड इवनिंग मैम।
हाँ देखना
मैम
और हाँ
मैम
यस।
मुझे एक चीज कहनी थी। जैसे हमने अभी भी डिस्कस किया कि आप काफी सारी थीम्स बता रही है, तो मैम जैसे करंट अफेयर्स में पढ़ते वक्त हमको काफी मतलब काफी बार ऐसे लगता है कि हमने इसके एक आर्टिकल हमने पढ़ लिया, इसके बाद हमने सोचना चाहिए कि यहाँ से क्वेश्चंस कौन से टाइप के आ सकते हैं। मतलब वी शुड बी ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग ऑन द क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम अ पर्टिकुलर थीम। तो मैम अगर उसमें आई मीन आई डोंट नो इफ इट इज इंक्लूडेड हियर, बट आप अगर उसमें हमको इनिशियली थोड़ा हेल्प करे कि हाउ शुड वी ब्रेनस्टॉर्म ऑन अ इफ
हाँ
अ
तो अभी
पर्टिकुलर
जैसे
आर्टिकल।
मैंने ये आर्टिकल पढ़ा ना, आपको अपलोड हो रहा है,
यस
पहले वो आर्टिकल पढ़ो,
यस।
में की नोट्स बनाओ, ठीक है? फिर मैंने
हम्म।
बताया जो जो टर्मिनोलॉजीज हैं आप वो करें, इसके आउटकम्स
ओके।
हैं। अब ये जो आर्टिकल आएगा ना, इसका इसका एक मतलब मान लीजिए सितंबर में सबमिट हुआ, तो आपको एक
हम्म
बैकग्राउंड है
हम्म
में हम क्या देख रहे हैं, हम वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर देख रहे हैं।
हम्म
तो इसमें इसी टर्म पे क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, जैसे चाइना ड्रीम पर आया, इसको रिलेट
हम्म।
कर सकते हैं चाइना के स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर से, चाइना की अप्रोच से।
ओके।
मैं बताऊंगी इसमें। पहले
हाँ हाँ।
मेरा पर्पस है कि जैसे जब ये देखो तो दिमाग में सोचो कि मैंने क्या क्या पढ़ाई की, क्या क्या कॉन्सेप्ट्स हम डाल सकते हैं। और
हम्म। ठीक है मैम, बस यही यही था कि एक बार आपके साथ थोड़ा
डिफरेंट डिफरेंट
ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग।
टॉपिक्स में आई विल फॉलो डिफरेंट। जैसे मैं सोच रही थी जैसे मैं रीड करूं और रीड करके एक एक लाइन आपको समझाते जाऊं, तो अब
ओके।
है ना कि साथ में आप नोट्स भी बना सकते हैं। जैसे एक लाइन है तो उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन कर दें तो आप नोट डाउन भी कर सकते हैं।
हम्म।
ओके
ठीक है। ठीक है मैम। तो वो
ओके।
बस एक ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग वाला पार्ट था, तो वो हम इंक्लूड तो कर
आज
लेंगे।
आप इसके बाद आप इस पे समझ लो, आप एक शॉर्ट नोट अपने लिए ऐसे बनाओ कि अगर राइट शॉर्ट नोट ऑन कंस्ट्रक्टिव स्ट्रेटेजिक स्टेबिलिटी, its elements, its background, its prospects,
ओके मैम।
its theoretical foundation. Okay.
ओके मैम, गॉट इट। या।
So now T2 5G.
Ma'am, sorry, ma'am. Actually, my phone model was.
Okay, okay.
Ma'am, I need to ask you, like, I completely relied on the Statecraft magazine since June
Hmm.
previous year, and I am a PSIR optional student.
Hmm.
So, ma'am, I need to ask you that can I completely rely for GS2 and PSIR current affairs to this magazine and your lectures of this course?
as far as mains is concerned. For prelims, you need to, I think, prelims, IR, you don't have to worry, but prelims, polity, you should read explained section or text context. I am finding that there is not much focus on polity in prelims, but your GS will be covered definitely. Mains, you don't have to worry.
PSIR optional for PSIR optional
Yeah,
that
yeah,
IR.
yeah. That this is now your PSIR optional book, samajh lo. Because what we have done in the class is background, but the nature of questions will be very current. And now when I am discussing, so you will also understand. Maybe I will make a video or something that I will explain line by line, that this is what this you should know, this you should understand, so that this reading becomes easy.
At last, one thing I want to conclude. Uh, Thank you so much, ma'am, for this magazine.
Oh, you're most welcome. I hope now we will be able to maximize its use. Okay, fine. So now Sai Gautam, Shubhankar,
Good evening, ma'am.
these are the two I will take. Yeah, yes, Sai Gautam.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Um, should we read newspaper also, ma'am, along with this
Please
magazine?
read newspaper for your prelims.
Okay.
Don't worry for
And
current developments of pol science, polity. But prelims you have to study na science, geography, environment.
yes, ma'am. And one more doubt: are all the topics in the magazine are covered in the lectures, ma'am?
The core topics, there are some factual. I will tell you what is its relevance. We'll try to cover the maximum thing. But the core themes, rather than quantity, focus on quality. Today, what you should think that today go and discuss someone. What is this summit? What you can make out of this summit? What is the outcome of the summit? What we can get out of it? What is the thing we should not ignore? That what is this constructive strategic stability term?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, Shubhankar?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, for 27 cycle, do we have to cover previous edition of statecraft
No,
as
you
well?
can't. You focus on from now onwards.
Okay, thank you.
If you get time, then we will see. But in time to come, you cannot ignore your prelims, I always believe. Okay, and issues will be repeated again and again. So when we will cover back topics, we will miss. तो अभी से आगे से यहाँ से जाना है. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So Shreya Singh, this is last. I will take and then we'll move. Yeah, Shreya.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
So, ma'am, as a student, what we are expected to do from this magazine? Like हमें lectures मिलेंगे, we know that.
इस
लेकिन
मैगजीन को आप पढ़ें क्योंकि आप ये समझिए कि क्लास में फाउंडेशन बिल्ट हुआ है. वो फाउंडेशन से आपके दिमाग में एक सीक्वेंस है, कोल्ड वॉर में क्या हुआ, आपके पास कुछ थ्योरी है, लेकिन ये आपको एग्जाम के लिए प्रिपेयर करेगा.
ओके मैम. सो जैसे आपने बोला कि आप कीवर्ड्स बताओगे, तो हमें उन कीवर्ड्स पे काम करना है ताकि
हाँ,
हमारी
जैसे इसके अब आप नोट्स बनाइए.
जी
आप ये कोशिश करिए कि कंस्ट्रक्टिव स्टेबिलिटी हम लिख पाए, थ्यूसाइडाइटिस ट्रैप, यही 10-15 वर्ड्स हैं जिनसे लगभग सारे आर्टिकल समझ में आ जाते हैं.
यस मैम. तो ये फर्स्ट आर्टिकल जो हम लोग अभी चाइना और यूएस के बारे में आपने इस पे ब्रीफिंग किया, तो उसमें लास्ट में PYQ का क्वेश्चन है, द यूएसए इज फेसिंग एग्जिस्टेंशियल थ्रेट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ चाइना दैट इज मच मोर चैलेंजिंग देन द अर्स्टवाइल सोवियत.
हाँ, तो इसका मैंने
तो
सोचा
इस आर्टिकल से हम कैसे इसका आंसर कर सकते
कैसे
हैं?
समझो. यूएसए इज फेसिंग एग्जिस्टेंशियल थ्रेट in form of China that is much more challenging than USSR. तो सबसे पहले हमें क्या बताना होगा? USA and USSR relationship, which was seen as Cold War, and their strategic stability was maintained through nuclear balance. Now, China is a bigger threat. Bigger threat because USSR was never an economic power, it was a military power. And somebody was talking about rimland theory. Fine. So the rimland concept, it is said that future will be under the rimland. But still, you can disagree that USA is not facing existential threat. There is no existential threat because we are living in age of complex interdependence. US needs China, China needs it. China may be challenging US hegemony, but existential threat means US is under threat. US is giving existential threat to Iran, right? So China is not. Plus, when you look at this statement, it also shows China's intent that China is not standing for existential threat. China rather prefers the stability, and it is giving constructive stability. But China has certain red lines. So China's strategic culture is defensive. I will discuss this in the next, or I will make a video and send.
Yes, ma'am. One more question. Here, existential threat means as in state or as in hegemony
Existential threat means survival.
of the
Survival
state itself.
concern. So survival, like China is creating existential threat for India. Fine, we are not in such a strong position. US has created existential threat for Iran. Iran gives existential threat to Israel. But that type of existential threat is not there between US and China, and no point also to have that type of existential threat. So China may be challenging US hegemony, but it's not creating the existential threat. Okay, so you can think, do reflective thinking, critical thinking. We can discuss it in the next class.
Yes, ma'am. So अगर हमें रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर्स मिलेंगे तो क्या हमें ऐसे जूम पे फिर वन एंड वन इंटरेक्शन करने को मिलेगा दोबारा
बजट
से?
से ज्यादा है, आई विल प्रेफर दिस मोड, जिससे कि मुझे भी पता चले कि बच्चे चाहते क्या है।
यस मैम, क्योंकि वन एंड वन इंटरेक्शन रहेगा तो इट विल बी मोर।
हाँ, तो इसी फॉर्म में रहेंगे, मिक्स्ड रहेगा।
यस मैम, क्योंकि डाउट
रहेगा, मेरे लिए भी अच्छा है कि इंटरेक्शन ही रहे। ठीक है,
Yes,
चलो, ओके, गुड नाइट, थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू।